DESIblitz.com.
Wow, I'm lost for words. It's not often that I'm lost for words, but I am. It's pretty emotional, really.
Hi, I'm Karun Chandhok, and you're watching me on DESIblitz.com.
Hi Karun, first of all I want to welcome you to Autosport. I just wanted to start off by asking you, you're one of the two only Indian drivers to race in F1. What was your time like there?
Racing in F1 is obviously a dream come true, especially coming from a country like India. You feel like it's quite a distant dream sometimes. It's a country where the sport didn't have a huge history in terms of sending drivers internationally. There was a lot of racing that happened domestically. My dad and my granddad used to race since the early 60s, but in terms of international drivers, there were very few. But obviously getting there and getting to my first race, I'll never forget the first driver I met in the paddock was Michael Schumacher, and he was the first one to say, welcome to Formula One and good luck. And we had a bit of a chat about India, things like that, and I always appreciated that a lot. But yeah, it was obviously a dream come true. You're working with some of the most intelligent minds on the planet in terms of engineering, but yeah, overall a great experience, and especially, as you say, coming from a country like India, to be only one out of two drivers out of a population of 1.3 billion is a pretty exclusive club.
So just going on from that point then, do you think motor racing events sort of lack coverage in places like India and for especially the British Asian community as well?
Well, I think that first of all, there's the coverage in India is the same as it happens everywhere else in the world. They televise Formula One, and the domestic media is actually quite good at supporting it. What we lack in India is the infrastructure. India is a big country. It's not like the UK. You can't just get in a car and drive up 2 hours to your local go-kart track. We've only got 3 really good go-kart tracks in the country. So if you're a kid in Delhi, you have to fly across the country to get to it, and it's expensive, and it's by the time you get yourself, and a kid's not going to go on his own, you need a parent to go with him or her, and so I think it's the infrastructure and the size of the country that means that we haven't yet been able to get the sport to grow domestically as much as some other places.
Like, what do you think needs to change for it to sort of become more popular?
I think for the sport to truly grow in India, you need the manufacturers to invest in the sport, as it's happened everywhere else. If you look at France, for example, you had Renault and Peugeot who invested a lot in young driving talent, and then you had the automotive suppliers, people like Elf, who created driver training programs and scholarship programs, and they created championships. They created Formula Renault, and you look in the UK, you had Formula Ford was created by Ford, and you had manufacturers invest in the sport in the country, and that gave kids a platform to compete in at an affordable level. Today it has to be done at an affordable level, and therefore I think you need the automotive industry to really take the bull by the horn, so to speak.
Do you think that one of the main reasons for the Indian GP being discontinued is because of the cost, or what do you think?
Ultimately, the Indian Grand Prix was a privately backed event. It had no government backing in terms of financial support. So, yes, the government had to give certain authorizations for the event to take place, but it was funded by the JP Group, and realistically, with the costs involved, it's not realistic for a private company to fund a Grand Prix. It happens here in the UK. It's funded by the BRDC, which is one of only 2 privately funded races still on the F1 calendar, I believe. Which is, it's a very, very tall order to manage in a country like India. So ultimately, I think unless the government gets on board and recognizes the potential touristic benefits of Formula One, we're not going to realistically be able to get the Grand Prix back. You know, you look at how much the Singapore Grand Prix benefits Singapore. You know, so many people, it looks great on TV. There's so many Europeans who want to go out there and enjoy the race. Same with Abu Dhabi, same with Bahrain, same with Azerbaijan. I mean, I'll be perfectly honest, I didn't even know where Azerbaijan was on the map until I went there. And actually, it's been a fun couple of years. So, and that's the benefit that Formula One can bring to the sport.
Would you say then that teams like Force India need to do more in terms of bringing sort of traffic to Indian GP in terms of motorsport?
But today we haven't got the Indian GP, unfortunately. So ultimately, it's not about the teams, it's about the government getting behind the race. You know, I think for all practical purposes, Force India is a British team with an Indian owner. It's based in Silverstone. It's got, you know, pretty much all European employees, and there's no real Indians involved apart from the team owner. So ultimately, it doesn't lie on their shoulders to popularize the sport. It comes down to the national federations and the government to try and secure the Grand Prix.
And what advice would you give to young racing hopefuls in the British Asian community?
So motorsport is a very complex, complicated sport. The first thing I would say is learn as much as you can about it. You know, it's not as simple as you get a ball and you go kick it around on a field or play it with a cricket bat. You know, there's layers upon layers of complexities involved in terms of what championships do you do, what races do you do, what teams you choose, who you work with, and the costs involved are high. So I'd say learn as much as you can about every layer of the sport. I'd say be realistic, and most importantly, as is the case with any sport, is to enjoy it, because if you're not enjoying it, then there's no point doing it.
And for you personally, what has been your best race of your career?
I would pick 3 highlights of my career, really. One is obviously my first Formula One race in Bahrain. You know, it was a culmination of a lifelong dream and something which not just me but my whole family had worked very hard for, and it's something I'm very proud of. But being the first Indian to race at Le Mans in 2012, and so far I'm still the only Indian to have raced at Le Mans, which is a magical event, you know, it's still something I'm very, very proud of. I've done the race now 6 times, and it's a fantastic event. And also I think that finally winning the GP2 race at Spa in 2007 really launched me back into European racing and put me on the map. And these were 3 sort of key moments in my career.
Okay. Thank you, Karun.
Thank you very much.